Today, most of the sites are being used by PHP. PHP web development means developing websites and dynamic web pages using a versatile and capable server-side scripting language. The main reasons are: first one is free of cost. PHP is open source and is developed and updated by a community of developers from around the globe. Second reason is capable. It can be used to design any type of website and can handle websites with a lot of traffic like Facebook, Twitter, Wikipedia, and many other very widely visited websites use it as their framework. Third one is easy. It has a readable and easily understandable syntax. Fourth one is platform independent. It can be run on all major operating systems like Unix, Mac OS, and Windows. And another reason is faster development. It uses its own memory space and thus decreases the loading time and workload from the server. Finally, it is secure. It has a multiple layers of security to prevent threats and malicious attacks. Coming to advantages of framework, PHP have several frameworks like Cake PHP, JNTUK, Code Ignition, Symfony, Laravel, and other several frameworks. The advantages of framework are: MVC indicates whether the framework comes with inbuilt support for a model view controller setup. Second one is multiple DBs indicates whether the framework supports multiple databases without having to change anything. Third one is ORM indicates whether the framework supports an object record mapper, usually an implementation of active record. And fourth one is DB objects indicates whether the framework includes other database objects like a table gateway. Fifth one is templates indicates whether the framework has an inbuilt template engine. Caching indicates whether the framework includes a caching object or other way of caching. Validation means whether the framework has an inbuilt validation of filtering component. Ajax whether the framework comes with inbuilt support for Ajax. Last one is authentication module. It indicates whether the framework has an inbuilt module for handling user authentication or not. These are the main functionalities for the framework. Coming to SWOT analysis, now we are going to discuss about Cake PHP. The strengths of the Cake PHP are: it's compatible with versions 4 and 5 of PHP, and it is object oriented. Design patterns MVC and ORM. Coming to MVC, modal support data handling with modal class. We can insert, update, delete, or read from the database, which is very useful for larger applications and sites. It is MVC driven framework. ORM Object Relational Mapping is a programming technique for converting data between incompatible type systems in database and object oriented programming languages. Every table is represented from a class. In this class, we can define relations between other tables, validation, definition, and also we can predefine specific callbacks, especially for the table. The most important thing is the relation definitions, because once they are properly defined, we can have subrecords without doing anything specific. You just have them when you get the main record. Good security in Cake PHP. Improve bootstrapping process to allow more developer control and better performance. Richer query API. Support for any database type. Shorter URL syntax. View helpers for Ajax, JavaScript, pagination, XML forms, and many more. Smarter root prefixes. Scaffolding. It means single line view rendering. It has standard HTML, Ajax, and JavaScript. Customizable elements. That means add elements as plugins into the application. It has input validation and data sanitization tools to help create search engine friendly URLs. And the final is larger growing active community. Coming to weakness, it doesn't have any templates. While using Cake PHP, one needs to update the default route for creating fancy URLs. If compared with other frameworks such as Symfony, it loses battle in the case. So Cake PHP is easier to learn, but Coming across other frameworks such as Code Igniter, which make learning all the more easier.
Now I am going to explain about Gen framework. Coming to Gen framework is also an open source and object-oriented web application framework for the developers of PHP 5. It also known as component library, and it offers an advanced model view controller implementation to set up a functional structure for Gen framework applications. It creates more usable codes that you can manually use for further development. Coming to strengths of Gen framework, it helps in building PHP web applications with more ease and least trouble. It offers the PHP developers with an excellent lightweight component library with almost 80% functionality, and it great scope for customization. The components like model view controller and rapid application development, etc. It helps to improve the productivity and functionality. It exceptionally flexible framework, and it extends complete support to all the features of latest version of PHP. It even smoothens the progress of creating search engine friendly URLs. The developers are not required to develop within the structure of the framework to exploit its various components. The model view controller, which separates the code implementation, also helps developers build efficient applications. The rapid application development extends great tooling support and command line client. It supports use of multiple languages, and it has also well documentation. Coming to disadvantages of Gen framework, it does not support the older versions of PHP. Next, moving on to Coordinator framework. Coordinator framework is relatively older framework and supports earlier versions as well. It is a high performance framework with small footprint. And here are the reasons why you will want to use Coordinator framework. First one is it is well documented. In fact, Coordinator is the best documented PHP framework available at present. And second one is Coordinator is highly stable and tested by hundreds and thousands of users. There is no way that you could find something unstable in a new version because the community will have already resolved it. And third one is Coordinator is extremely easy to use. You don't need to be master in MVC architecture. This makes it a perfect framework for new developers who don't have advanced knowledge or experience. And last one is the new version of Coordinator promises high stability and well organized unit tests. Coming to disadvantages of Coordinator, first one is the investment in maintaining the code. And the second one is it is general rule of thumb to document the code you write so others can collaborate about it. And the third one is there hasn't been a lot of updates in this coordinator framework. Coordinator does not support ORM, Ajax, and authentication module. Coming to Symfony framework is the best choice for businesses. It's compatible with business libraries, most platforms, infrastructure, and methods. It provides projects that will be able to maintain for a long time. Coming to features of Symfony framework, it allows MVC patterns. It uses configuration files to help maintain vital metadata, and it allows developers to extend the core code and build their own libraries and helper functions. And it has enhanced features like caching, multiple database support, validations, error handling, plugin, and helper functions. Moving on to the advantages of Symfony framework, it provides ORM tools and it provides CLI for auto generation of modules, databases, etc. And it has debugger toolbar which show load time, debugger time, etc. It has inbuilt Ajax support, and it also provides command for admin backend generation. Coming to disadvantages of Symfony framework, it does not support PHP 4 and it does not have any templates. Later part will be continued by my team member.
Yes, sir. Now I am going to explain about YE framework and Laravel framework. Moving on to YE framework, YE is a high-performance component-based PHP framework for developing large-scale web applications. It enables maximum reusability in web programming and can significantly accelerate the development process. YE framework is best because it is based on DRY design pattern. That is why it is called fast application development framework. Like most PHP frameworks, YE is an MVC framework. YE excels over other PHP frameworks in that it is efficient, feature-rich, and clearly documented. To run an YE-powered web application, you need a web server supporting PHP 5.1.0 or higher versions. For developers who want to use YE framework, it's very helpful by learning object-oriented programming because YE is a pure object-oriented programming framework. YE comes with rich features like MVC, DAO active record, caching, authentication, role-based access control, scaffolding, and testing, etc. It can reduce our development time significantly. Coming to strengths of YE framework, the user experience will be better. You can split your website into real multi-language portal. And another advantage is it is very fast and efficient. Coming to weakness, if you use different subdomains for one website, the page rank of your main domain will probably suffer. For small multi-language sites, it's best to use English URL rules with one main domain. A YE framework does not need to be installed under a web accessible directory. An YE application has one entry script which is usually the only file that needs to be exposed to web users. Other PHP scripts, including those from YE, should be protected from web access since they may be exploited for hacking. Moving on to Laravel framework. Laravel is designed for the latest version of PHP and it has many base development components like unit testing support and authentication built into it. This framework holds well with the Blade templating engine to give comprehensive use. There are many reasons why you will want to use this PHP framework, starting with its RESTful APIs which are easy to build. Reasons for using Laravel framework. Laravel has templates with simple web page layout with sections. It has authorization library. It has exceptions with highly detailed stack trace, something which is not available in Coordinator framework. Laravel has bundles with solid structure. It has object-oriented libraries supported with autocomplete feature and it has widgets with assets like CSS and JavaScript. It is easy to use libraries and models due to this feature. Coming to strengths, I think this is just about the easiest framework to get into. Also, it teaches MVC very quickly. It is great routing system that replaces controllers. And it is easy to use migrations like database creation and updating. It is easy to use out of the box authentication and validation, and also it works via a PDO and can connect to numerous databases. It's easy bundle use and it is mostly easy updating. Moving on to weaknesses. It is still new. It does not have quite the same documentation as older PHP frameworks. The Laravel community is still growing, so there are less people to collaborate about it. Routing can be little on and you have to do some workaround when handling it. Even though Laravel is an amazing PHP framework for web artisans, building huge enterprise applications or simple JSON APIs, Laravel is perfect for jobs of all sizes. Yes, Laravel is clean and classic framework for PHP development. Laravel helps us create wonderful applications using simple and expressive syntax. Laravel is intuitively written and has code structure which is easy to follow. But YE's framework is also good, but it needs serious changes to compare with Laravel in code quality. And another reason why we choose Laravel comparing to YE framework because Laravel is generally considered to be a really good framework. It has fast-paced development schedule, whereas the YE framework has to do some serious work before it can really compare to Laravel code quality.